Hey, hey, hey. Hello, everyone. How are we doing?
Hi
Can I
there.
get a whoop, whoop? Yeah, yeah. Got Corey here, my partner, and Michael Emanuel, our guest speaker. I want to start off, guys, by saying I am so sorry for making everybody late and starting 5 minutes late. One of these days, I promise I'll get it right and on time, but I have yet to master technology. So, with that being said, I think here I'm very curious to see where everybody is logging in from. We got quite a few people here joining in, so let's see in the comments here if you can. See, Nadine, whoop, whoop. Yeah, Nadine. Let's see, where is everybody from? We're going to talk about ADUs tonight. I'm so excited because it's a great way to maximize an existing property. So we got Ottawa here, Kitchener, we got Niagara Falls. You guys are from like all over. I love this. Where else we got? I know the West is represented here. Where is Fenelon Falls, Andrew? Where is that? Got Nadine and Godrich. Do you know where that is, Corey? Michael? Fenelon Falls.
Fenland Falls. I
Oh,
think
Fenelon?
it's out
I'm not
near
even saying it
Ottawa.
right.
I'm probably wrong.
I'm not even saying it right. I'm sorry. We got what? McDonald's. I did not even know. Oh, McDonald's in Eglinton. That's Marshall. Always about the food. I love it. Okay. 30 minutes north of Lindsay. That's where Fenelon falls. Sorry if I'm saying that wrong. We got Calander. Guys, we're all over. Love that. All right, Corey, what are you most excited about tonight?
I'm looking forward to seeing. We've obviously spent time with Michael before, and I'm just excited to see his evolution because I know he's been up to some new things here, a little bit of a rebrand, and he's serving a lot of real estate investors these days. So,
Yeah, we have a great story, you and I, with Michael, actually. I've mentored Michael. He's one of your students way back in the day, and it's just been very beautiful to watch you just blossom like a flower. Probably not something a guy wants to hear, but blossom like a flower, like really like open up. It's just been an amazing ride with you here, Michael. So thank you for having us on your journey, and sharing your journey with us and seeing how now like it's just coming full circle. I'm gonna get the slides up here. Let's see if we can get, there we go. All right, so do you want to kick us off here, Corey?
for sure, tonight we're going to be talking everybody about building ADUs to maximize profits. Okay, and Michael's going to be helping us dive deep. It's going to be a little bit visual, which I think this is a great topic to be visual with. So super excited. I've seen some of Michael's work, and I know he's serving lots of people these days. And really, gang, people are looking for how to make profit these days, how to make the numbers work, how to make the math, pencil out, however you want to say it. And ADUs are one of the best ways to make this happen right now, especially if you already own the property and you got the space either in the property or in the backyard to do some intensification. Very powerful. So definitely excited to dive right in. And we wanted to congratulate everybody that's on the call tonight. People are making the time to invest in themselves. We keep seeing the number count jumping up and up and up. So we appreciate you blocking off, investing in your future here by learning about possibly a new strategy that you haven't really gone deep on. And Michael's got a great way to do that with us here tonight. So really looking forward to seeing his presentation. But, the difference between the average investor and the sophisticated investor is the person who actually educates themselves and then takes the action on it, right? So, there's a lot of, I got a bookshelf back here. There's a lot of shelf help when it comes to learning about almost anything in personal development. And we want to make sure that this just doesn't become shelf help for everybody here. Go out there and implement after tonight. And that's how you're going to really set yourself apart from your peers.
Guys, education without implementation is just knowledge, right? And so make sure that you take some notes, have a couple of takeaways, action items that you're going to implement after this in order to make your time worth being here, okay? So you really want to implement. And yeah, you know what? The other thing is too, you're not just here to learn. you're actually investing in yourself. And that's why we have this slide almost on every single presentation, because a whoop whoop to you for investing in yourself. Because the one thing that you can't do is undo knowledge. Once you've learned it, you can't unlearn it. All right, Corey.
Yeah, and obviously we want to let you know how to get a great return on investment. Throw something in the chat if you guys like to get a return on your investment. And everything you do in life, you should be super intentional about it. I'm already seeing some emojis here. This is way more responsive than Zoom. I love it. Sometimes on Zoom, we got to wait for like 5 seconds, 10 seconds. But this is how you guys can get a great return on your investment tonight. So be engaged. Not necessarily cameras on because we're on a webinar, but be present, be grounded. Hopefully you got something you can take notes on, whether it's in your phone or on your computer or in your favorite notebook. But don't be afraid to be social. Like, there's going to be some awesome screenshots here. And we always tell people that we work with closely and intimately in our student group that don't be afraid to share the journey, right? Even if it is just on a computer screen, you're doing something that everybody else isn't doing tonight. You're actually learning about a very powerful strategy. So don't be afraid to get some messages out there to the world in your network. Comment in the chat. We're going to be looking intensely at the chats here. And towards the end, we're going to be doing Q&A. So save your questions for us at the end there. Make sure you have fun. Learning doesn't have to be stuffy, for sure. Write down the things that you want to implement tonight so that you can actually see results. Like Danielle just mentioned, it is so important. You can be really average in life, but if you're a great executor, you're going to beat all the people that have all the talent and more money and more skills than you do. At the end of the day, it's all about implementation. So that's how you're going to get a great return on your investment. Now, we would be remiss if we...
No, go ahead, Corey. I was just going to give you a break. you can do the boring slide. Go ahead.
No worries. Yeah, I'm great with this stuff. So, guys, we need to make sure that we have some disclaimers up here as well. So make sure that you're seeking legal and professional advice. Most of us, or at least myself personally, I'm not a licensed professional. We do have a lot of experience, and we're here to share our wisdom with you, and we bring on experts as well. But no matter what expert is on the screen here, you always need to make sure that you do your due diligence, and things change on a weekly, monthly basis. So super important that you do go seek that professional advice. And then our recording disclaimer here, the event's being recorded. So if you don't want any of your comments or your name or anything mentioned on the call, then don't put anything in the chat. But this is going to be used for marketing purposes. This is going to be evergreen content. So we appreciate everybody showing up here today and being along with our marketing journey. So what are we going to cover here today? All right. So I'm not going to take away from Michael's thunder too much. I was peeking at his slides a little bit here, but how can you turn, one property into multiple different units, right? It's almost like a magic trick as a real estate investor, but I think it's amazing when you start to learn and see things differently, right? We want you to make sure you have your investor lenses on. And if anything, we're going to be swapping out the lenses and giving you a different pair of lenses to use after tonight. So why are investors focusing on this strategy? We're going to give you some processes and also the challenges. Like, we're here to share the good and the not so great when it comes to ADUs. If it was simple, everybody would be doing it, but it isn't always simple. It's definitely easier when you got the right people in your corner, though. How to build as cost effectively as possible. Layout is important. Your finishes are important. And the way that you approach it is super important too. Now, there's definitely grants and funding sources for ADUs these days, and they're going to be increasing over time, I believe. If my crystal ball behind me would ever actually work right there, then that's what I'm going to be betting here, because the government can't solve our problems. The government's going to want us to help solve their problems. All right. And that's why there will be grant money increasing over time, I believe. So, and the next steps, if you want to break into the space, Michael's a great person to stay in touch with here. And he's going to give you some blueprints. He's got some amazing giveaways here, guys. So make sure you stay to the very end to get some of these giveaways. But if anything, you're going to be a lot more capable than you were before you came on today. A little bit about ourselves here. So I've been investing, both of us have actually been investing for 2 decades. I've done many different strategies here, but I've never done ADU builds. So it is on my list of things to do here in the next year or two. And very passionate about giving back to the real estate community, creating programs, coaching people through their first property or their 10th property. That's just what we do here at Strategic Success. And, real estate's treated us really well. And now it's time for us to teach other people how real estate can actually give them their time freedom and financial freedom back. How about yourself there, Danielle? A few words.
Yeah, so for those of you who haven't seen Corey or myself, yeah, we were investors first, invested for a long time, kind of accidental coaches, because as we were coming up through the ranks, people started asking us to speak on stage, come off stage. Then it's like, hey, can you coach me and show me how you did what you did? Back then, they really didn't have everything that you see now on social media and all of the different courses. And yeah, we've literally come together to join forces and build a program that is one to many and one that has integrity and that actually works and sees success for people. So that's essentially our passion right now, is giving back to the community and sharing. Corey and I are very big on sharing with the community. So we know what real estate can do for people, and we just want to share that with everyone. So before we get started, just a couple of things here, guys. Just a couple of things here, guys. Yeah. If you guys want to be a part of the community, I would highly recommend that you join. If you want to be part of the conversation, join our community. We have a pretty active WhatsApp community with a lot of people in there. We share resources. We share all our events. You can get referrals in that community. If you have any questions, if you're stuck on something, how to handle a contractor, a contract that you need, or a clause you should have in a lease agreement, dealing with a tenant, all of that stuff. We have all of that in our chat. It's just an open forum. It's open to the public. So if you want to share it, the link is in the chat. So you can click the link in the chat and just join. It's open to anybody. So come in, check it out. If you don't like it, you can bounce. It's all good. No hard feelings, but we do know there's lots of value in there. And even if you're just one of those people that like to read and follow, you're going to learn something in there as well. So if you want to join, it's in the chat, and you can join there. And we're going to try to do something tonight that we've never done before. And then we're kicking it off with Michael. So I know you guys are itching to hear Michael speak, but we're going to run a very short sponsored video. It's going to run about 30 seconds. And then we're going to introduce you guys to Michael. So I'm going to ask the team here. I've never done this, so I don't know what I'm doing. So if the team can jump in here and yeah, so there's a question here from Gaming Sing. So the information that you're going to have here tonight, the nitty gritty information is going to be local and mostly in Ontario, because it's going to be relevant to where Michael does business in the Tri-Cities area in Ontario and Kitchener, Cambridge, Waterloo. However, we teach fundamental principles when it comes to real estate investing, and he will give you a lot of fundamental principles when it comes to ADUs. And most laws are pretty much the same everywhere. You do have to check in your municipality though, guys. Michael will get into that, but every municipality has little things here. So, all right, quick 30-second video. Blake, if you can hit that off, and then we're going to introduce Michael.
Equiton Residential Income Fund Trust back in 2016. Today, that investment will be worth over $200,000. That's the power of strategic growth and resilience, even during uncertain times. Now, imagine what your money could do in the next phase of our growth. Don't let this opportunity pass you by. Start building your wealth with a fund that's proven its strength.
All right, guys. So I don't even think that was 30 seconds, but anyhow, that's our sponsors, Equiton. If you're looking for passive investing and you want to invest in real estate and you want your money backed by hard assets, you can go to equiton.com and check them out. Okay, really super easy. They're great people to work with. All right, Michael, here we go. You ready for this?
I am. Hey, everyone.
Hang on. Corey, do you want to introduce Michael? Oh, you're muted, Corey. Here we go. Let me unmute you. Yeah, go ahead.
Stop playing tricks on me. No, I'm just kidding. Michael Emanuel, obviously, we've known Michael for a while, and we're very selective, everybody, like who we put on our stages and who we put on our webinars. And when we came up with the topic, we just knew that this was a no-brainer. So Michael Emanuel is not only the owner of We Build ADUs, but he's also a best-selling author, and he's got some surprises for everybody here today around that. But specializes in design and construction of these units, of this powerful strategy. He's all in on this. Like, this is what he does. He lives, sleeps, eats, and breathes this sort of thing. He's gone to school for it, has his diplomas for architectural technology and project management, over a decade of experience in the construction field, and has managed projects totaling over $100 million in value. So that's just massive. We're very grateful and proud to have Michael as our guest speaker tonight. So without further ado, Michael, you have the stage here.
Awesome.
Blake,
Everyone
if
is
you
doing
can,
well this evening, and thanks for joining us.
yeah, Blake, if he can get his slides up so he can screen share.
Yeah, I'll hit it on my end so you can
Awesome.
approve.
Awesome.
Yeah, let me know if you see that, Blake. Yeah, there we go. Perfect. All right, so let's dive right into it then. We don't have any time to waste because it's already 20 after 8, and we have until when?
9:15.
9:15. Yeah, so I got a lot of information for you guys today, and I'm excited to share it with you. So thanks for joining us. As Corey mentioned, I'm Michael Emanuel, owner of We Build ADUs, and I'm excited to walk you through unlocking hidden value in the properties that you already own. So we all know that Ontario real estate isn't getting any cheaper. Not if you have a 5 or 10-year outlook, that's for sure. Never mind what's happened the last couple of years. But now more than ever, investors need smarter strategies, not just more properties. And additional dwelling units allow you to unlock hidden value that will turn an underperforming property into the star of your portfolio. So my objective over the next 40 minutes is to help you understand what's involved in doubling, tripling, or quadrupling down on a property in your portfolio by adding ADUs. Last thing, so I'm trying to boil down what would probably be a 3-day intensive workshop into only a 40 or 45-minute presentation. And the objective here isn't to overwhelm you, it's to inform you, giving you the ability to ask better questions. But because I have so much to cover, let's try to reserve all questions until the end, please. So again, my name is Michael Emanuel, and I come to you today as a project consultant, speaker, and author of 2 Amazon best-selling books. You can get your copy, a digital copy of Rehabber Secrets by scanning the QR code or going to www.rehabbersecrets.ca. And that's free for everyone who took the time to participate in this event today. I'm also a BCAN qualified designer certified in both houses and small buildings. I hold an advanced diploma in architectural technology and a certificate in project management. And over my career, I've been involved in over $100 million worth of commercial and residential projects. Today, I own and operate We Build ADUs, where we specialize in creating profitable additional dwelling units, primarily for real estate investors. So why ADUs and why now? Well, despite the short-term blip of higher interest rates over the last few years, Ontario's housing is becoming increasingly unaffordable. And I think we can all agree that's a trend we'll continue to see. Population growth, driven primarily by immigration, is creating pressure for more diverse housing options. And the province and municipalities have responded over the last several years by implementing a number of new policies to relax zoning restrictions and encourage intensification by way of small infill developments. And they're continuing to make changes faster than I can keep up with. If you look at the image on the right there, that's me on a panel with other industry experts at the Homes for All Summit hosted by the region of Waterloo last year, where hundreds of industry professionals, including city staff, professors, builders, planners, and many others, who came together to talk about the missing middle housing. More on that later. But all this is to say, I believe we're only at the beginning stages of the ADU trend. So tightening returns for investors, tightening returns means that investors need to get more creative. And adding more doors to one property does just that. Additional dwelling units allow investors to create new income streams without the cost of acquiring additional land and properties. This strategy directly reduces mortgage pressure by that having to qualify for more mortgages and improves the overall return on investment by leveraging existing assets more efficiently. So in this environment, scaling smarter by maximizing the use and value of properties you already own is no longer optional. Let's get clear on what an additional dwelling unit is for those who aren't aware, because this is still a relatively new term and municipalities refer to them differently. Some will say additional dwelling units, some will say additional residential units, some will say secondary residential units. Just know that all of these names are synonymous. But in a nutshell, these are self-contained residential units that are subordinate to the primary dwelling. It must include its own kitchen, bathroom, and sleeping area and meet all Ontario building code and municipal zoning standards. You heard me use the term missing middle housing earlier, but what is it exactly? Simply put, it bridges the gap between single detached homes and large apartment buildings. The intent is to integrate them seamlessly into existing neighborhoods, adding much needed housing supply without disrupting the character of already established neighborhoods. ADUs are one of the pieces of the missing middle. They can be located within the principal residence, attached through an addition, or detached as a standalone structure. Let's go over some examples of attached ADUs. Here you have different variations of a duplex, triplex, fourplex. Important note, many cities are allowing up to 4 units, but some are still lagging behind with a maximum of 3 units. Here is one example of an attached ADU where the investor is converting the 1,200 square foot main floor of their Hamilton duplex, it's a very large bungalow, into two separate units, creating a triplex. So the basement and main floor unit shared the same entrance originally, which is shown in green on this drawing. And so we had to create a second street-facing entrance so that each unit could have its own dedicated entrance for egress. So you'll see Unit 2 that's highlighted in the orange color has the rear entrance. The area highlighted in green is the entrance to the basement unit. And then the area highlighted in blue with the arrow there is the new entrance that was created for Unit 1. Here's another example, converting a single family detached into a triplex. We were able to create a new dedicated entrance and foyer at the rear of the home, highlighted in green in the middle image there. Because it already had the second floor staircase, it made it a no-brainer and easy access to the upper unit. We were also able to use the existing side entrance as the dedicated entrance to the basement, and the front door was the dedicated entrance to the main floor units. And here's another example turning a semi-detached into a triplex. This example is for a property in Waterloo. A similar concept here, just you have to use your imagination on how these properties get divided up. But the basement would become one unit utilizing the existing side entrance in red there in the middle image to access it. The front entrance would be utilized to access the staircase to the second floor unit, and then a new rear entrance is created for unit number 2, the main floor unit at the rear. And just interesting numbers, because I know everyone likes to talk numbers, but currently the whole semi is being rented for $1,800 plus utilities. However, with 3 units, this conservatively turns into roughly $5,600 per month plus utilities, which is not bad at all.
I gotta unmute for that. That's pretty awesome. 1,800 to
Right.
over $5,000.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So moving on to detached ADUs. Most municipalities currently permit a maximum of 1 detached additional dwelling unit, but some cities like London and Kitchener have updated their zoning bylaws in 2024 to allow up to 2 detached units. And my expectation is that other cities will follow their lead. This makes the numbers pencil in a whole lot better when you're thinking about constructing a detached ADU, where you can initially only get one source of rental income. For one example, I'll show you next. This one here the customer is able to, or sorry, the one on the left specifically, the customer was able to generate $2,500 plus utilities for that unit. Now, the cost of construction on that was roughly $250,000 to $275,000. But if you could add incremental construction cost while adding another unit in the basement per se to make it a duplex, the numbers just pencil in a whole lot better. The other example here on the right is a much smaller 400 square foot studio apartment. But of course, it's not just one or the other. You can mix and match attached and detached ADUs on a property. And here are some examples of different configurations. So the first one on the left, you have a 2+1, so a standard duplex, adding in a detached ADU. The middle one there is a duplex. So say you had already an existing duplex and you wanted to add a detached ADU in a city that allowed up to 2 units. Within that detached ADU, that would be that example. Or triplex conversion of the primary dwelling plus 1 detached ADU. So choosing the right ADU for you. Interior alterations like the 3 examples I showed you for attached ADUs would be the most cost effective and fastest to deliver because you're not modifying the building envelope or structure significantly. Second or third floor and rear additions let you add square footage at a higher cost than an interior alteration. But by connecting to the existing home's utilities, an addition will still be lower in cost than new construction. Detached ADUs provide full separation, ideal for premium rentals or multi-generational living, but building an entirely new structure from the ground up and bringing utilities to it comes at the highest cost. What you choose to do will be specific to your finances, the income generating potential of the ADU in that specific area, and the after renovation value. So the bottom line, of course, is that the math needs to math, so choose the right type of ADU accordingly. So the first step is confirming what you can and cannot build. Zoning dictates what you can build, how many units are permitted, and the physical limits on heights, setbacks, lot coverage, and parking. Most Ontario municipalities now allow up to 3 units per lot, and some have moved ahead by permitting 4 units in all residential zones. That includes single-family, semi-detached, and street-fronting townhomes. However, zoning bylaws vary not just between the cities, but sometimes they can even vary between certain neighborhoods within the same city. Downtown cores typically have more lenient rules, like parking, compared to suburban areas. But those parking requirements can also vary significantly and affect the feasibility of the project. Although I will say, of late, I'm seeing more cities become more lenient in the layout and number of parking spaces required where there used to be a barrier to entry. So an example is that Hamilton had some strict parking bylaws that the cars couldn't be in tandem. They had to be side by side. Now they have certain areas called parking restriction areas where you're only required to have 1 parking space, even if you add multiple ADUs to it. So that's some insider knowledge there. Bottom line, though, is that site-specific due diligence is a non-negotiable, and it is your first step. So here are some common zoning traits for attached ADUs specifically. Many municipalities, as I mentioned, will allow 2 or 3 attached ADUs, and that includes the primary dwelling, so up to 3 or 4 units in total. If you can renovate the existing floor plan to add new units, great. If planning to add a story to a house, understand that there are maximum building heights. If planning to add a side or rear addition, know that there are maximum lot coverages and setbacks. Rules around street-facing entrances, translation equals front doors facing the street, vary significantly. Some municipalities restrict properties to a single entrance facing the street, while others permit multiple visible entrances without issue. Going back to Hamilton, they used to only allow 1 street-facing entrance, and I learned last year through some of these permits that is no longer a restriction. Dedicated walkways from the street or driveway to each unit's private entrance are often required to ensure safe, accessible paths. and parking spaces cannot overlap with those walkways. So every design must align with that city's specific zoning standards. Detached ADUs will have their own set of zoning rules. Maximum building heights typically range from 4.5 to 6 meters, with many municipalities limiting detached structures to 1 above grade story, although some do allow 2, and that may depend on whether the primary dwelling is multiple stories already. Lot coverage and gross floor area limits often apply to prevent overdevelopment, commonly capping ADUs at 10 to 15% of the total lot area or a maximum square footage like 80 square meters, which roughly converts to 860 square feet. This is so that the properties are not overdeveloped and still fit in with the visuals of the neighborhood. There are also minimum setback requirements to property lines that are often 0.6 to 1.2 meters and required separation distances from the primary dwelling unit. So you can see on that image there, it's noted as 5 meters, but this will vary from city to city given their zoning bylaws. Some are more, some are less. I should also add that that is also something that needs to be looked at as far as the Ontario Building Code is concerned for setbacks and unprotected openings. But that's going really into the weeds. Walkways that are provided must be clear and unobstructed, just like the previous slide, for fire and emergency access. Now, key takeaways. Always confirm your zoning compliance as your first step before making any assumptions about what you can build. Use municipal resources like interactive zoning maps. You can find those pretty easily by typing in the city that your property or potential property is, followed by interactive zoning map. And usually within the first couple of Google links, you'll find something that'll take you right to it. Alternatively, you can contact the planning department of that specific city, either by phone, email, or visiting City Hall to speak to someone at the counter. Generally, they're all very helpful. Or you can obviously consult an experienced designer for their professional input. Final thing, if you need to seek relief from a provision in the city zoning bylaw, such as maximum lot coverage, setbacks, building height, and any of the other things that I mentioned, you can apply for a minor variance. In my experience, to date, the Committee of Adjustment members and planning staff have not given any resistance to the majority, or for anything that I filed, I should say. But this is dependent on the type and severity of relief being requested. If a minor variance is required, factor in additional time of 60 to 90 days and costs ranging from $1,500 to $2,500 in your plans. That cost and time frame is dependent on the city. Okay, so that was a lot, and there's still more because we covered zoning, and now we're going to dive into the Ontario Building Code. So zoning tells us if we can build. The next step is figuring out how we have to build it. In order to do that, we need to comply with the Ontario Building Code. If you're just adding one extra unit, like a basement apartment, it's still considered a house under the building code. The rules are a little more flexible: fire separation, ceiling heights, exits, all a little easier to meet. But as soon as you add a third unit, that house turns into what's called a small building. That's where the rules tighten up. You'll need more serious fire separations between units, better soundproofing, different egress requirements, higher ceiling heights, and other minimum standards also kick in. The key takeaway is the number of units matters. It changes the rules you're playing by. Another important note, some BCIN designers will only be able to design and submit houses under Part 9, while others like myself can also design and submit building permits for small buildings. When you add a secondary suite to a house, often referred to as a duplex conversion, you're working under Part 9 and Part 11 of the Ontario Building Code. And I'm not going to go into the specifics of all the code requirements for a secondary suite, but one important requirement is that the minimum ceiling height for that secondary suite is 6'5". If anyone has looked into adding a basement apartment or has added in a basement apartment, you would know that. But when you have 3 or more units, your project is no longer classified as a house. It's classified as a small building under the Ontario Building Code. This brings in stricter rules, higher fire ratings for walls and ceilings, different egress requirements, higher ceiling heights, like I mentioned before. For example, 45-minute rating between dwelling units rather than the 15 minutes now allowed for secondary suites under the 2024 building code. Service rooms require a 30-minute fire rating on both walls and ceilings. Minimum ceiling heights for small buildings are 7 feet, whereas secondary suites, as I mentioned in the previous slide, are 6'5". That's an important distinction there, because if you don't have, say you wanted to do a conversion like one of the examples I mentioned, the 2-story one in this image here, and convert each floor into its own unit, you want to make sure that that basement is at least 7 feet finished. So finished floor to finished ceiling. Each unit should have its own dedicated exit, or if shared with another unit, then there must be another shared exit. The same minimum room sizes and natural lighting requirements do carry over, and you can still use one HVAC system to supply heating and cooling to all units, provided there is an index smoke alarm interconnected to all of the units. And that's what the plan was for this triplex conversion. You can utilize one HVAC system, then you can save a bunch of cost, but at the risk of some sound transmission through ductwork and things like that. Other options may be to do a heat pump system separate for each unit, but that will depend on the hydro provided to the property. So that's a bit more into the weeds there. So takeaways for the Ontario Building Code. The sooner you understand and plan for building code compliance, the smoother your permitting process will be. Whether you're doing a simple secondary suite or a slightly more complex small building, clear design aligned with Ontario Building Code standards is critical for approval. For permits, cities will require detailed architectural plans that include an OBC matrix, site plan, existing and proposed floor plans, building elevations, cross sections, and details. The drawings must show compliance with both zoning bylaws and the Ontario Building Code. If you modify any structural elements, engineered structural drawings are mandatory. HVAC plans are required for 3 units or more, additions and detached ADUs. The city may also request plumbing plans and life safety plans for 3 or more units, so that's something to be mindful of, as it will require more consultants to be involved, and that will come at a greater cost. That is also dependent on the city, so that's one of the things that you can inquire. If you're going to speak to the planning department about zoning, you can also pop into the building department and ask them specific questions like that. For detached ADU, some cities will require the permit drawings either be stamped by a registered HRCA builder, that's Tarion, or request the owner to take responsibility as the owner builder. Building permits take time. Allocate 2 to 4 months for the design and review process, at least. If you're doing a minor variance, then you also need to account for that time frame as well. There are a few other important design considerations to make. Not all, but some municipalities will ask for grading plans when building a detached ADU. The grading plans show how rainwater will drain across your lot to avoid flooding the neighboring properties. It must comply with city standards for slopes and swales. If site clearing is required to build an addition or detached ADU, you may need to get a tree removal permit. Some cities' policies for tree removal on private property are very relaxed. Others, like Oakville, are way more stringent. And finally, if you're adding a new unit, you'll need to plan for water, sewer, hydro, and sometimes gas connections, and potentially upgrades to those services. That might mean trenching to bring utilities to a detached ADU, upgrading water line services for all of the new plumbing fixtures, or installing new hydro and gas meters. These are costs that need to be budgeted early on. The building permit may only be one part of the equation. If your property lies within a Conservation Authority regulated area, your project must be reviewed for flood risk, environmental impacts, and sometimes even geotechnical stability. This can add time and complexity, so it's critical to identify it early. Heritage properties, which I would suggest staying away from, do present a unique challenge. External changes to the street-facing facade often require Heritage Committee approvals, which can be a long and drawn-out process. Properties located near highways may fall under the Ministry of Transportation transit corridor boundaries. Depending on the distance from the highway, you may require an MTO permit, which adds another layer of review and approval time. Why am I telling you this? Well, all of these authorities having jurisdiction can influence your project's feasibility, including timelines and cost. So identifying these early allows you to plan accordingly. And just before we get into some of the costs, I just want to remind you, as I said in the beginning, the objective here is not to overwhelm you, it's to inform you. So, take from what I'm presenting here what you will, and it enables you to ask more informed questions, either that to the city or to your designer and contractor. So, permit fees and development charges. At minimum, you will need to pay the building permit fees. These are calculated at the time of building permit submission, generally calculated at a cost per square foot or square meter. You can ballpark between $500 to $1,500 depending on what it is that you're building. Some cities like Kitchener require a zoning compliance certificate to be submitted, or an application, to be submitted and approved in order for the building permit to issue, and that has its own separate fee of $300. Development charges are also calculated during the building permit review. In my experience, the DCs have been waived for a secondary suite, so the first attached ADU. However, when adding a third or fourth unit as an attached ADU, or when constructing a detached ADU, this can trigger those development charges. Generally, I've only seen them as public and Catholic school board fees, roughly totaling 5,000, I wish it was 500 per unit. But I recommend verifying the DCs with your city so you are not surprised come time the permit is ready to be issued, being slapped with a $5,000 or more invoice. Now, if your project requires Conservation Authority review, Heritage Committee approval, or falls under the Ministry of Transportation's transit corridor jurisdiction, each of those agencies has its own separate application fees and review timelines that could range from 2 to 4 weeks or 6 to 8 weeks and cost a few extra $100. If you need to widen the driveway access in order to allow for more parking, that's another application with another fee. That could be a 10 to 15 day review period and a couple of additional $100. So lots of costs to be budgeting for just from the design phase, which people often underestimate, in my experience. And not every permit is handled solely by the building department. Planning department staff will review the site plan for zoning bylaw compliance. Projects with 3 or more units may be reviewed by the city's engineering department, or if a grading and site servicing plan is required, also by the engineering department. And depending on the build, the fire department could get in on the action with a post-construction walkthrough to confirm fire separations and egress requirements are met. Now, on to the construction part. So construction costs can vary significantly based on the project type. I mentioned 3 different types earlier. An interior alteration, like finishing a basement into a legal secondary suite, runs generally around $100 to $150 per square foot, depending on the extent of work. Obviously, if you're replacing plumbing, electrical, and HVAC, you're going to be on the higher end of that. If you're able to salvage the majority of those mechanical systems, you'd be on the lower end of the spectrum. If you're building an addition, expect closer to $250 to $300 per square foot. If you're doing a second story addition, that could be less costly than doing a rear or side addition. And if you're doing a brand new garden suite, you're looking at around $400 to $450 per square foot. I've budgeted quite a few of these, both just myself and getting subcontractor pricing, and pretty much bang on every time. That's the range that we're falling within. Now, these are averages, of course, and things may vary by scope, type of finishes, utility upgrades, and so on. But for your math, making sure that numbers pencil out, these are very good ranges that you can use as ballparks for your preliminary budgets. This also, I should note, excludes the cost of your design consultants, development charges, and permit fees, which we just went over. Okay, so I think I saw someone in the chat had asked about how long some of these things take. So interior alterations typically take between 2 to 4 months. Obviously, you need to have some buffer in there. It's always good to have a project buffer built in. Additions will stretch closer to 4 to 6 months, and standalone ADUs that are detached from the primary dwelling can run 6 to 9 months. That's a typical construction schedule for a new home. These are obviously approximations. The weather and other unforeseen circumstances could impact those timelines, but the bottom line is always add a buffer to your timelines for the unexpected. As a general rule, you can add 1 buffer week for every 4 weeks to every 8 weeks of the construction schedule. To maximize cost efficiency, you can reuse existing electrical, heating, and plumbing systems, as I mentioned earlier, for that secondary suite. But my suggestion is to do it whenever it's feasible, such as that triplex conversion, where we converted or planning to convert that 2-story Hamilton home into 3 units. For interior alterations, if you can, avoid major structural changes, because structural changes equals big dollar signs. For additions, minimize work on the existing exterior facade as much as you can. Definitely avoid basement walkouts, as these alone can range from $20,000 to $25,000 plus. And for finishes, we typically put in attractive mid-grade finishes that can command top-tier rents without breaking the bank. Just make sure that they're durable enough to withstand some abuse from tenants. Now, when construction starts, it's important to stage work carefully for tenants and neighbors, notifying them well in advance when possible, and even adding it within their lease if you can. I've had a couple of different clients that did that. They had finished the duplex, it was vacant, and they included some information or schedules in their lease agreement, notifying the tenants that the work will be happening and that they will lose access to the backyard, for example, of the detached ADU. And that there will be noise and dirt and so forth. Communication is, I'm trying to say, is key. You want to keep your tenants and neighbors happy. You don't want anyone that's calling the Ministry of Labor or bylaw officers stop work on the job site. I can tell you that from experience. It's not a good time. Inspections will happen at key stages. These are building inspections. Footings, foundation, waterproofing, framing, HVAC and plumbing rough-ins, insulation, fire separations, and your occupancy and final inspections. Expect there to be some curveballs on your project. It happens on every project, no matter how well you plan. There's always something that gets thrown your way, and you just have to roll with the punches and adapt to it. That's why it's always good to have a buffer in your schedule and construction contingency. I recommend carrying 10 to 15%. Good communication with your contractor and subtrades is obviously key. And it could save you a lot of headaches. Both good communication and having buffers for schedule and budget. So construction logistics change dramatically if you're working in or near an occupied building. Dust, noise, and site safety must be carefully managed. Closing vents, sealing rooms with poly barriers, doorways, temporary construction fencing around the construction site are all ways to create separation. Secure exterior sites with security cameras to monitor site activities, also a plus, and check in on the work from day to day. And lastly, you always want to order long lead materials like exterior doors and windows, which carry a 6 to 8 week lead time to avoid delays during construction. All right, so moving on to financing, everyone's favorite topic here. So I'm not going to pretend to be a financing expert. There's a lot of those out there. I focus on the design and construction, but this is one question that I always get. How do I finance these projects? So if you don't have the cash, financing your ADU usually starts with tapping into the equity you already have in the property, either by refinancing an existing property or using a home equity line of credit or leveraging someone else's. If traditional financing isn't enough, there are alternative lending options like private lenders that can bridge the gap, especially during construction. Many cities, as Corey mentioned, offer grants. Some offer forgivable loans to encourage rental housing development. So it's worth checking the terms and conditions of local programs. I know a lot of them will offer loans for affordable housing development, but generally the rent rates that you can charge in order to qualify for that program don't make sense from a feasibility standpoint or investment standpoint. Also, at the federal level, the Canada Secondary Suite Loan Program now provides up to $80,000 in low interest financing, specifically for secondary units. Although I haven't found anyone yet who's actually applied and received funding from this program, so it's still early days. I think it only came online in the middle of January this year. But typical government, they announce something and then you don't hear about it after that. Last thing, make sure you account for carrying costs during construction like mortgage payment, taxes, and utilities. The financial benefits of adding additional dwelling units are significant and measurable. I gave one example of that semi-detached unit and projections for converting it from the existing tenanted whole home into 3 separate units. And so more units means higher monthly rental income, which immediately boosts your cash flow. And at the same time, you create what's called forced appreciation because the property's value isn't just based on market trends, it's based on the new income you've created. More rent also means you're accelerating your mortgage pay down with every tenant payment. And in my experience, many ADU projects should pencil out cash on cash returns of 15 to 20%, and they should exceed the 1% rule. Speak to your accountant as well about writing off a significant portion of your renovation expenses against your rental income. You could qualify for tax rebates like the new house rebate if building a detached ADU, for example, which could put up to $24,000 back into your pocket. What does this all mean? Higher income, faster equity growth, and potential tax breaks, all with one well-executed project. Not bad. So I've ran through this rather fast, but as I close out this presentation, here's a quick recap for you on the promise of ADUs. So the housing supply shortage is only getting worse, not better. And I don't know about you, but I'm highly skeptical of any government promises to improve the number of homes built each year and what those homes may look like. Not without significant reform and cutting of red tape. The province of Ontario and municipalities across Ontario are actively promoting ADUs and small residential infill projects to densify urban areas. This is the trend that I've seen over the last 4 to 5 years since I've been very active in the space. And that's why, as Corey mentioned, I'm really all in. With a name like We Build ADUs, I'm definitely all in. But most people still don't know what an ADU even is. I'm certain, though, given our trajectory, they'll soon find out and it will become far more mainstream. I've had, just as an example, I've had inquiries from not just investors, obviously, that's one bucket, but also from homeowners who are looking to add space for their now children to live in future, renting it out in the meantime, for children that have disabilities. So they require, they want them to be close to home so they can take care of them. From grandparents or from older parents in their 60s and 70s who've retired now, they have no debt, their mortgage is paid off, considering selling their home and building an ADU on their son or daughter's lot. And so that's just a couple of different examples of people who have reached out to me in the past. So I can tell you it's becoming more and more talked about. Even on a site that I'm working in Brantford, I've had an old lady that was in her 70s, very excited to see the progress of the construction unfold, asking me about it, contemplating doing what I just said and selling their house, her and her husband, and building something on their son's lot. So very cool stuff. But investors who act now will definitely be ahead of the curve. They will own resilient cash flowing assets that will help them build long-term wealth. So your next step is simple. Pick a property you already own and check its zoning feasibility for an ADU or multiple. You can book a consultation with me if you want help reviewing a property or running the numbers. And remember, you don't have to start with something huge, but be smart and efficient in your planning for future ADUs. There's an opportunity here, as you can see. And by doing what others won't, you won't position yourself. So you will position yourself to win bigger. You'll know how to unlock value others can't see. And knowledge plus action, that's your advantage. So let's quickly recap. You don't have to buy new properties to grow your portfolio. You can unlock hidden value with the ones that you already own. Now, we build ADUs. We offer an end-to-end solution for investors. We do offer free site feasibility assessments, so you know exactly what you can build before getting too far into the process. We offer project consulting services, including budget and schedule estimation, as well as guidance throughout the construction process. Our team will prepare complete building permit packages for submission. We'll also assist in minor variance process. And if you want full support in construction, we can also provide construction management services. The goal is simple: make your project as profitable and stress-free as possible so you can start earning more income. And you might be asking what areas we serve. We do permit and consulting in Southwestern Ontario, construction management in a 1 to 1.5 hour radius of Kitchener-Waterloo. You can add me to your contacts and let's connect about your ADU project, either by taking a screenshot of all those sources there to reach out to me, or you can scan the QR code and add me directly as a contact on your phone. Definitely follow me on Instagram. Follow along with some of the builds going on. Currently, I'm working on one in Brantford. It's a 920 square foot garden suite with a basement. We're future proofing it to allow for a basement unit because Brantford doesn't currently allow it. And thank you all for your time and energy this evening. Let's work together to unlock the hidden value in your portfolio and build something incredible. If you have any questions, I'd love to answer them now.
Hey there, Michael. Great presentation. I'm just trying to figure out a way to get Corey back here because, as you guys, if you haven't figured that out, I'm tech challenged. There you go. Okay, thanks to the team. All right. So yeah, we got a whole bunch of questions here, Michael. The chat has been on fire while you were chatting, so I just want to make sure that we get through them all. So thank you. You did answer. We had a question here from Frank. What geographic range you serve? So Frank, I hope you got your answer there. We got a bunch there. What's your biggest takeaway here, Corey, after listening to Michael?
Yeah, that this strategy is not going away. You know, it's going to be something that, and once you've built it, like it's there, guys, and like an ADU is going to stand the test of time. It really is, especially if you're building detached, really is like a totally separate house, right? So these are things that you can expect to have 70-year lifespan, maybe more, right? So yeah, it's exciting, and I think it's just great because when you see those returns of 15 to 20%. Those are real returns, guys, and that's hard to find in the market. And this is something that you get to, have a say in. You get to design it. You get to, it's bricks and mortar, right? This is a hard asset, and it's just great to see that the financing is getting easier and easier. Like 3 years ago, 4 years ago, you almost had to do this with your own lines of credit and just wait. But things are definitely different now.
Yep. So here's what we're going to do, guys. We've got some resources to share with you. Also, Michael's free book. So hang in there. We're going to do a Q&A. Just wanted to share with you guys again, if you haven't joined our WhatsApp community, absolutely free, easy to join, easy to bounce if you're not finding there's value, which I highly doubt you will. But check it out. Here's the QR code. Come and join us here, guys. And then a couple of things we just want to share with you, and then we're going to get into the Q&A because we're here for another 10 minutes, guys, so we'll get through a bunch of these questions. June 18th, we have our next informational webinar coming up on June 18th. It's a big one. This is one we do in collaboration with Front Lobby, Rent Panda, Solo, Ontario Landlords Watch. If you haven't seen us do this, it's quarterly. Last event we had I think our top number was 457 people on the webinar, Corey. Yeah, it was pretty large. And this coming month is going to be how we built a business, not just a rental. So a lot of people get into this as a side hustle, and then they end up with a business. They don't know what they're doing, and then we help you guys. We're going to help you guys on how to do that transformation. And then we have our marketing masterclass coming up here, Corey, at the end of June. Tell us a little bit about that.
Really excited for this one here, gang. And marketing is what's going to separate the average from the like the above average, right? The people that are actually making the moves and gaining all the market share. And whether you like it or not, the first time that you actually buy a property, now you're in business, and you also need to be in the business of marketing that rental or marketing yourself, right? So we're not just trying to fill units, but you're probably going to be looking to raise capital and do all sorts of different things. So I come from a background of marketing, and if you aren't trying to put yourself head and shoulders above the competition, then you're just gonna you're gonna be stuck as average, right? And I think it's very important, guys, to get whatever edge you can here in 2025 going into 2026. So we're always pride ourselves on being ahead of the curve. And this is something that if you're not paying attention to it right now, you wish that you would have been, a year from now. So come and get the best information from us. And this is what we got for you guys here. It's not going to be a massive, 1,000-person room. We like our rooms for these master classes to be more intimate, where you actually get to know and shake hands with the speakers, and as well as get some time with Danielle and myself. June 28th, June 29th, Holiday Inn in Oakville. And we've got a special discount for everybody here. All right. So if you want to be in the room with us here, go scan this discount. Go scan the QR code. Make sure that you use the discount code WEB25. I think we're going to keep this live for a couple days, so we can't keep this going forever. So yeah, do yourself a favor, everybody. Go and treat yourself early to some great content. And trust me, when you guys see the speaker lineup, we haven't got them all confirmed in Eventbrite yet. We literally put this together for this webinar. But I'm super excited about our speakers that are going to be pouring into you all weekend long.
Yeah, and guys, this discount, I don't believe that we're going to get as big a discount than you are right now. We only give this discount to our insider community. We haven't yet launched this event. We're launching, I believe, on tomorrow, Friday. And so, yeah, so we're ready to go with this. If you want to come join us, learn marketing is not what it used to be, guys. You got to learn how to market today in using today's technology, leveraging the tools that we have, and we're going to teach you how to do that. So enough on that. So we're going to get into the Q&A now, guys. So let's take a look at the questions that we had here. So there was lots of questions around the grants here, Michael. If you wouldn't mind, there was a question from Daniel about if Sarnia is doing grants. I'm going to find a couple other ones around the grants, but yeah, we just want to see. Also, the other question that we had, I don't know if you know about Sarnia, but
no, I'm not too familiar with Sarnia. I think Corey had commented on that.
Yeah, sometimes they'll do grant money if you're in a certain part of the city that they're trying to improve, but right now, no grants in Sarnia.
So where could you find to research municipal grants here, Michael? Like, who do you reach out to in order to find these grants?
Usually they'll have it posted on their website if there is anything. So you could do a simple search, just like for the interactive zoning map, where you're typing in the city, and then you could put something like ADU grants or additional dwelling unit grants, see what pops up, or you can do something similar like loan program or loan assistance. And so I'm just looking up online right now just to see if I can pull anything up. I don't see anything for Sarnia specifically. That falls in Lambton County. Does that fall in Lambton County?
Corey?
Yep, that's Lambton County.
Yeah, okay.
So your first place, guys, the first place you're going to want to go is the municipal websites. The other thing you can do is go into the building department and go into City Hall and talk to them. ask at the building department, and then they'll direct you to the right people if there's anything like that. And then I want you guys to know too that there are municipal grants. Like there was a grant, I believe, for St. Catharines, and there's ceilings to these grants. They can only let out so much money. There's going to be a cap to these. So if you don't get ahead of it, you also want to find out like how close are you to your cap? How many more grants are you issuing? It's just like universities; they only have a number of them that they want to give out. And so you want to ask, you don't want to go out there shopping saying, oh, okay, there's this grant, I'm going to get 50K, 40K, 80K, whatever it is, and then bank on that money, run the numbers with that. And then you put in for you put in for the property, the numbers are great. You know, get the permits, you get all the drawings, you put in for the permits, and then you apply for the grant, and then they're gone. So there is a process. So you want to make sure that if you're just starting, that the grant is going to be there if you're relying on it, okay? So the grant money can't be what makes or breaks the deal because they can pull back on that at any time. And if you're not careful and you're banking on that and then they pull it, then you're going to be with a property that's not cash flowing now. So you just really want to be careful about that with the grants, okay, guys? Some more questions here. Lots about the square foot, Michael. So there's some chat a little bit about the square foot, and because we know that the cost per square foot when it comes to building an ADU is typically one of the highest per square foot costs when it comes to building living space. So there was some good chat. I know you were busy presenting. There's some good chat going on with Eric Martin. So don't get stuck on the cost per square foot because it's all in whether or not it's creating a return. Can you talk on that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, the numbers have to pencil out. If the numbers don't pencil out, then you have to look at other opportunities, right? If you're talking specifically for detached, then yes, it's going to have the highest cost per square foot because you're building a brand new house in a backyard or side yard, right? And therefore, the math has to math. So that's why I was leading into these municipalities who are updating their bylaws to permit 2 units in a detached ADU like Kitchener, like London, where the math will pencil out a whole lot better when you can account for the cash flow from two brand new units versus just the one. In saying that, from my experience, if anyone's familiar with the 1% rule, where 1% of the rental income is 1% of the total construction costs. Generally, that's a good rule to follow, and it's going to be hard to come by through some other investment strategies in Ontario these days. So, you know, it all depends. You don't have to go. I'm going like in depth here, but build what makes sense. Don't build the maximum size unit that you need to in the backyard if you're only going to get an extra $100 or $200 per month in rent, because you could be adding $60,000 to $80,000+ in additional build costs. Maybe it only makes sense to build a 2-unit, 1 bath that's like 650 square feet, right? So you also have to look into that. What's the market demand of the rents, and then plan accordingly, because you don't want to overbuild something for the market where there's no demand.
Yeah, and then I think we're gonna have time for one more question. We are at time here. We started 5 minutes late, guys. Really sorry for starting late. But yeah, a couple of things here. What's the let's do like a quick fast
Fire? Okay, sure.
Yeah, like lightning round. Okay, what's the average time frame for permitting? And by the way, there was also a question here that do you need a permit from the city in the first place? The answer is yes. You always need a permit to build. Okay, guys, you got to follow the Ontario Building Code. Having said that, what's the average time here, Michael?
It's going to depend on the capacity of the city that you're applying, but generally the initial review turnaround time will be 3 weeks. I would factor in if it's a more complicated design, not your typical basement apartment, 6 to 8 weeks, allowing time for some resubmissions.
Awesome. Yeah, you do need time for those resubmissions he's talking about. That's when they come back with comments. You got to fix your drawings and then send them back in. So you typically have to do at least 1 resubmission, sometimes more. So account for that.
You had a rule
Basement height.
Like one extra week for every month of the project, I think.
That's for construction.
Yeah.
So basement height. Yeah. So I think Marshall was a bit confused over ceiling height on other floors outside of the basement. So with the OBC, the Ontario Building Code, the ceiling height is a ceiling height, doesn't matter what floor, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So I think the distinction needs to be between what is a house and what is a small building. A house with a secondary suite, so that would be your typical duplex that you see all over the place. It's been very popular over the last 10 years. The minimum height for that house or that secondary suite is 6'5". For a small building, which is 3 units or more, it's 7 feet.
Perfect.
Is that clarified?
Thank you for that. Yep. And then I just want to give a shout out to Eric here. Eric Martin was very informative in the chat. He did share some resources, so I wanted to say thank you. And particularly, I wanted to say thank you for your level of respect, because you didn't want to overstep your boundaries. I wanted to respect Michael's presentation and not share too much. But in the spirit of sharing here, we are here to learn and grow together. Together, we're better. That's something that we live by, and we just want to make sure that everybody is here taking away some stuff. Oh, where did Michael go? How did Michael disappear? That's it.
There
We're
I
done
am.
with Michael.
Okay, I'll see you later.
All right, we got some free. Yeah, no kidding, right? We got some freebies here, guys. So hang tight. Here we go. So to recap, Corey, take us home.
Yes. Intensification is one of the main keys if you want to keep growing as a real estate investor. And there's definitely opportunities out there if you guys are just willing to take the time and put the time in. And yes, that might mean, spending time and getting to learn how to use the interactive map for your city, spending time on Google Earth View, spending time with people like Michael and Manuel here. I thought that, you've got some great things that you can do for real estate investors here, Michael, as well as, different strategy sessions and giving your opinion. So, but be intentional with your design and spend the time with your spending in general. Like Michael was saying, sometimes that fighting for that extra 25, 50 square feet doesn't make sense if you're not going to get more rent from it. So working with a professional team is a way that you can cut down on your time. And ninja tip is if you guys are stacking strategies here. So if you do an ADU and then you do something like a furnished rental in the backyard, it can just blow the lid off the returns. But make sure that just doing a straight rental, the numbers are going to make sense. And then if you do something a little bit different, that's just icing on the cake. So
I lost Michael again, guys. Can we bring him back up? I don't know why. I can't pull people up on the stage. It's weird. I just have remove as an option. So if we can get Michael back up here, thank you. Okay, so here we go, guys. We are going to take it home. So some free guides, Corey.
Yeah, just as our gift here, gang, for attending and sticking right to the end, we've got some things for everybody here. So we've put a bunch of time into our own resources here. Definitely like some guides when it comes to the pros and cons, kind of the must-have tips, and then just a checklist if you're actually ready to do something like this, because you don't want to go further down the process and down the path, and then you realize that, okay, I'm spending money that didn't make sense, or I'm a little bit ahead of the curve, or my city isn't ready for 4 units yet. So scan this QR code here, and if you're on your phone, a little hack is you can just take a screenshot of this and then have someone use an iPad or use something different afterwards to scan the QR code. But this is our gift to you. So it is a downloadable product, and we wanted to have a gift for everybody here for attending.
It's got lots of great information, guys. All right. And then what do we got next? If you want to connect with me and Corey, you can connect with us on Instagram. And yeah, scan these QR codes, and then that's it. If you're not already following us, we got Michael as well to follow. And if you missed his link, we did have it in the banner down below multiple times. You can just follow me or Corey and then find him in our list of friends because we're there. All right. And with that, guys, it's a wrap. Woo, woo. Yeah.
How about Michael's giveaway? Did everybody get Michael's giveaway here?
Yeah, it's in the free resources. Didn't I say that? I thought I said that. Yeah. So his book, Michael's book, is in the free resources. So when you scan the QR code or click the link that's in the chat, you will absolutely get all those free resources and Michael's book. We should have put a picture on his book on that slide. Didn't even think of it. But yeah, so you'll get lots of freebies there, guys. And don't forget to follow us on Instagram so you can catch the next events that we have for you guys. Any final words of wisdom, Michael? Don't wait, do it now.
Yeah. Yeah, get it. The trend is your friend, right? We know that the trend is here and you have an opportunity to get in front of it. So take advantage now.
The trend is your friend. I'm putting that on the screen 100%. We're leaving with that. I love that. Okay, the trend is your friend, guys. Whoop, whoop. Let's hit it home with a whoop, whoop. Here we go. All right.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Thanks,
yeah.
everybody.
See you next month. Bye for now.